Well, Patrick Agbambu, security analyst and publisher, Security Watch Africa, joins us now in the studios to look at these changes of baton across the formations and its implications for the security of the nation in 2023. Very warm welcome to Newsnight. And it's like the mandate by the president to the security, agents, particularly the armed forces and other sister organizations, is go out there and root out the insurgents or criminal elements in, the country. Is that why we're seeing these changes, or is it just a seasonal thing? Once there's promotion in the armed forces, then you have the changes?
Yeah, the changes is routine. Usually is normal. Once every year, there are promotions that takes place, and after which, of course, definitely there will be need to infuse some new bloods and new strategies will come in to be able to make it better. But again, you remember that the president did promise that he's going to leave Nigeria better than he met it in the area of security. So it could be also one of the reasons. But for this particular recent postings, of course, it's cutting across all services. Police just did theirs, the Air Force did, the Army just did, and Navy will also be doing.
We are waiting for the Navy
to
do
the Navy
this
come up
doing by this week. By the new week, they will also be doing theirs. So it's cutting across all services. It's part of its routine postings, and also, of course, new people and new ideas to carry out the
Well,
fight.
new people are new ideas. Yes, it's a good idea, but when it comes to the nation's security, some people would argue and say that might not necessarily be such a great idea, especially looking at some of the successes being recorded by this theater commanders in particular.
Exactly.
Do you agree with those who say maybe even if you have to promote them, you don't have to redeploy them?
Some form of continuity here.
To help
let me.
with
I know we don't have enough time, but let me just take particularly since you mentioned theater command. The theater command in charge for the Northeast operation had in Kai. He had worked so well, and since his arrival there, we have seen the dozens of thousands of people of this
surrendering,
and which is a good sign, really. But it's not to say that the person who is coming to take over, who I also know very well, I.S. Ali, who has been in charge of the safe haven in Jos, is doing also very well. So it's like these are people who have been tested over time. So there was not much of a change. And the theater commander, CG Musa, is moving to take over as the corps commander for infantry, who are the core hands for executing this insurgency.
The foot soldiers.
So it really, it's still in the same circle. Just now, he has even more widening scope to be able to prepare them for the battle ahead.
Yeah, the battle ahead, seems to be getting larger and larger, maybe tougher and tougher, even as the military from the air, the ground, and the sea continue to disseminate all these criminal elements. Is the issue very contentious of, repented, rehabilitated Boko Haram or these fundamentalists and the rest, and very soon they will be handed over to their state governments and reintegrated to society. As a security expert, how wary are you about that?
Yeah, I'm not worried because I'm not worried about it because just yesterday we were talking about this when the news got out that about 663 will be reintegrated to their society. I say yes, it's part of the United Nations program. It's not a Nigerian government program. And that was why they set up the safe corridor in Gombe State, where those who, during the operations, activities of these Boko Haram and ISWAP, they get to communities, they pack everybody, hold them hostage to work in their farms for them. Some they will use to repair one or two things as slaves for them. Then when the army or the Air Force goes on operation and get these
rescue
people,
them.
After profiling, some of these people
they discovered that
they are not active
participants.
These are the ones that were taken to the safe corridor for the demilitarization and de-radicalization and the reintegration program. These are not the actual operators,
fighters,
fighters. No, These are not the actors. The fighters are kept where they are kept.
So you're saying the fighters are not
no,
part
these
of
are not
that
the
program,
fighters.
and they're not reintegrated?
No, there were thousands of people who innocently were packed as slave workers who worked in their farms to take care of them, and even women.
Even
and
the Boko Haram,
things.
they have farms.
They have farms, and so those are the people that now be.
Amaka is shocked.
No, it's a good thing this clarification is coming from you, because you know, it's one thing when the military personnel join us here on the show and they tell us from the inside. It's a different ballgame where you, as an observer from the outside, you're able to tell us what's going on. So this clarification, very apt, and thank you for that. But you know what? Despite all of the successes we have seen, there's still pockets of insecurity, which is rife across the country. So I ask you directly, Patrick, what is the current situation of insecurity in Nigeria, especially as it has to do with extremist group in the northeast?
It's fluid.
Where are we?
It's fluid. It's dynamic. It changes. I must tell you the truth. And there's no, like I tell you, one of the things we tell people, we'll try to say, never allow terrorism or insurgency to start.
Because you don't know when it will end. Well, of course, we've seen the example that the NGOs in the northeast, they've paid rent of 20 to 30 years.
Yeah. So really, these things will continue to happen. But to mitigate it is what we're making sure that it's no longer attractive, and that is what is happening now. Then to answer you seriously, because that is where the problem is, the extremism, the military aspect of it is being handled, the security aspect of it is being handled, but the governance, they need to do their work. They need to be able to how to change the ideas, the ideology, because most of these things are ideologies. So you need to be able to work it, or else it's like a time bomb.
Are we doing enough in that front?
We are not.
Right. If what you're saying in essence is it's beyond decimating or
it's beyond that,
all of the jargons that we get to hear from, not jargons, well, the nomenclature we hear from the military personnel. So now when you talk about that, in terms of the ideology, because the truth is, when it has to do with culture or people's mindset, that needs more work to fine-tune, to come back to what is the truth. So what should we be doing right now? So that way even the young children whose heads are being filled with the wrong ideology don't fall prey. So that way we're not seeing new recruits going there.
Now, one of the areas where these people recruit their people is to tell them that the government is far from you. There's distrust. Government needs to get the trust of the people. And because over time, there have been some neglect. In most communities, you don't see the government presence. It's only in the cities. And so part of the ways we can get this thing to be taken care of is by making government closer to the people, by the autonomy that the government is talking about, the local government, because that is the closest local system of government to the people.
Right.
You take Sokoto, for instance, you go to most of the communities, they don't know about the government. And so these bandits come to them and dangle one carrot for them. They accept. They believe in them. They see them as saviors. And they want to support them. They want to be informant for them. Now, government must first and foremost make sure that they get down to the grassroots and do what is there. Then our faith leaders, because everybody in Nigeria belongs to one faith or the other, either Christian, Muslim, even the traditionalists, we must also talk to our people, because there's no way you can, all these people that are killing, they belong to either as one faith or the Christians other. And all that. So we must be able to get these two sets of the government and these faith leaders to get down to the people and be able to correct, so we can get peace once and for all.
Absolutely. But another major problem, that seems to bedevil the Nigerian military is that of dissemination of information. And I know the public relations, in the three services and other, security agencies is key to, letting Nigerians that believable spirit and operations seems to be lacking. Maybe if I single one of the one service, they'll think I'm being biased, but give it to the Navy and its spokesman, fantastic, you get a point. And others, like the Air Force is done creditably well, but it is just insiders like you and I that would know what they are doing, and not because of their releases, and not because, you know, they are out in the public to say, look, this are the things we're doing. And you find another service, the foot soldiers, that is the infantry, the army, taking all the glory. How can they strengthen and engage more with the media so that the media can help to disseminate, you know, the appropriate information to stakeholders and the people of Nigeria?
I agree with you. That is where all the services are lacking. But it's not their fault, really, because like I was interacting with one of the chief. I said, how possible is it? He said, we'll go to war. It's not our responsibility to be talking to the press. Look, they have the civil ministries, the Ministry of Information. They have various organs which will be speaking. But they are not actually doing their work.
The Ministry of Information will not be able to disseminate
the proper information because they were not trained to do that. Then the department itself, they have professionals which in this department. But I will tell you, they will complain about the paucity of funds to do their work. They will tell you about people not believing
and the usual command structure.
You understand? So all these things are the biggest problem, but they need to win the hearts and the minds of the people, first and foremost. That is one important thing for them to believe that this fight against insecurity is not the military or the police.
But what's so difficult in collaborating with the media to win that fight or the minds of the people? We're not charging them, are we? We're not asking them to come and pay for anything. We're just saying, come and tell the public. If there is a bombing XYZ, release your report appropriately and don't allow the public to be speculating. Patrick, you know what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but let me also tell you in this, as also somebody who is in the security, I will tell you that sometimes when there are issues like that, there are processes of actually trying
processing
to
the information
properly before you give it out, because you need to be able, you can't just say about 100 persons died. What is the process? What happened? Have they become? Because there is a law that says,
when
even though I see somebody,
sorry,
even though I see someone who is lifeless.
I'm going to box Patrick to a corner now, and we've seen press releases where they will say the kingpin or the king of one terrorist or bandit, you know, after gun duel and the rest, only one AK-47 is recovered and 2 motorcycles.
At the end of the day, what we're saying is the military need to do more to inform the people in regards to the situation of what's going on. And even the new spokesperson of, I think that was the Air Force there, who actually spoke about the media and the fact that further collaboration is needed. But Patrick, we cannot let you go without talking about the forthcoming general election and insecurity. There's a lot of fear in that direction. Some Nigerians say maybe the elections might not hold, despite all of, you know, the reassurances we've gotten from the IGP and even heads of security agents. But you, as a security
Amaka, let me tell
observer,
you. Amaka, let me tell you.
Should we be worried, or should we go to bed?
We shouldn't be worried. If the election will not hold, it will not be because of security. I will tell you this for sure. I will give you instances. You know, just run down to the Anambra election, the governorship election that's held. A lot of people believe that the Anambra election will not hold, but it held. People came out. There are measures that will be put in place. Nigerians should not panic. Like what we're saying is that enough information have not gone out here. They should tell Nigerians that there is preparation towards this. There will be peace in terms of security. Everywhere will be taken care of. The only challenge that we may have is those INEC materials and facilities and that were burnt and destroyed. Would they be able to get them active before the election period? Those are the areas. But in terms of security, I tell you that security will not be a challenge.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, having faith, I mean, in the Nigerian security architecture, we do have faith too. And we think officers and men are doing more than a yeoman's job. Patrick Agbambu is a security expert and the publisher, producer of Security Watch Africa. Thanks for coming on.